Alright, this is going to be the ultimate bingo wildfire build guide video. I've been putting a lot of work into this, and this includes everything right down to an index at the end of the video if you're curious on where to get everything. At the start, we're going to have a section for my take on the bingo builds, which is the glass cannon, and then after that we're going to have a version of it for the run and gun wildfire playstyle, which uses the savior set, and then last but not least we're going to have the bingo PVE setup. So to start off with, we'll jump straight into the bingo glass cannon. This is my favorite build, and it utilizes a 3-piece Bastille set. 3-piece Bastille buff gives us a 40% weapon damage increase in Bastille state. We enter Bastille state when we crouch for 0.5 seconds. Personally, I think the Bastille state is actually very underrated, especially for a sniping playstyle that maxes out the bingo's potential. So, for instance, when I crouch simply for 0.5 seconds, I enter Bastille state. As soon as you see that little green buff come up next to my health bar, I'm good to go to get a 40% damage buff. So it's literally this easy on activating the Bastille state buff. This is recommended for sniping, and why I include it in my glass cannon build, because I personally find it very strong when I'm playing defensively and just picking off players. And again, this is the glass cannon setup. We're not using savior here. You're going for maximum damage. On to the next part of the build. Again, we're quickly going to go from top to bottom here. So the first thing is obviously the wildfire and the bingo, both respectively from the Wish Machine Blueprint shop and the Bounty Hunter banner. We have a full breakdown of the Wish Machine and how that works at the end of the video if you're curious. For the weapon mods, we are both running the vulnerability amplifier on both weapons, and we are looking out for weak spot and weapon damage substats, with a third substat that we would look out for to be weapon damage reduction. Getting those 3 substats is a bit of a grind, and it is very RNG based. Personally, I've never come across a decent vulnerability amplifier, and I've done the spider boss that many times, but I would recommend definitely using vulnerability amplifier over any of the other mods. Vulnerability is basically rend. If you've ever played New World, it is a damage increase to the player that has that debuff on them. You're giving that debuff when you hit that player. Next to that is obviously the accessories. For the accessories on the Deagle, I'm running camouflage suppressor, compact reflex sight, small infrared indicator, and the extended pistol mag. If you're curious on any of the locations for these attachments, going to the index section at the end of the video, and I have a full breakdown on where you can find everything mentioned in the builds at the start of the video. For the sniper accessories, we're running the integrated suppressor, the precision optic, and the tactical SR mag. These are honestly the best attachments for the sniper because we're maxing out our range, which is going to give us the most damage increase. As for the calibration blueprints, on the Deagle, we're running precision style double weak spot. Now, you can, if you want to, run a rapid style double weak spot. This is really good for the second build, which is for the wildfire running gun setup using the savior sets. But for this bingo wildfire, I really do recommend trying precision style and seeing if you like it first, because the attack 25 and range plus 40% is a massive damage increase. I'm doing almost 3,000 to 4,000 more damage over someone using a rapid style BP. And not only that, we get some of our fire rate back using the pan-fried fish, which is a consumable I'll mention later in the video and how to get later on. For the calibration blueprint on the sniper, we are using rapid style double weak spot. Obviously, this is for the animation cancel, and I've heard a lot of you guys again question, how do you animation cancel? All you need to do is spam A and D or W when you're shooting. It's that simple. Literally just spam A and D like this. And if you're in scope, it's literally the same. You just need to scope in, spam A and D, and it will just speed up the shooting process. I don't know why it's like this. I don't expect this animation cancel to stay forever, but while it's in the game, it is that easy. Jumping straight into the armor here, we're running the 3-piece Bastille and 2-piece Renegade. This is again the glass cannon setup where we're maxing out our damage using that 3-piece Bastille bonus. We also get a weapon damage bonus and a reload speed bonus. Reload speed is very strong on the bingo wildfire, as both the wildfire and the bingo have very slow reload speeds and small mag capacity. Then we're running the 2-piece Renegade to contrast that 3-piece Bastille, which is the reload speed and weak spot 2-piece bonuses, which are very good for our build as well. For the boots, obviously, is the old Huntsman boots, obviously very strong, what really makes the build come alive. I also do quickly want to mention that the blueprint in the Wish Machine is called a different name. It is a translation error. They are called the Seasoned Hunter leather boots in the blueprint shop. So again, there's some kind of translation error there. I just want to quickly mention that. For the mods on our armor, we are running the Precise Strike on the helmet. And again, we're going for all the precision substats. Weak spot and weapon damage are the two key factors we're looking out for in the glass cannon setup. After that, a third substat would be preferably weapon damage reduction, but that is a very hard roll to get. So weapon damage, weak spot, weapon damage reduction, and HP. This is a decent roll, but we're missing that weapon damage in the fourth slot there, which is a near-on impossible roll to get. I've never seen it ever, but that is what we would be looking out for. On the gloves, weak spot damage boost. You could also mess around with a munitions amplifier if you get good rolls. It really comes down to what you get the better rolls on. If you get a weak spot weapon damage reduction, it would be probably better to run that over a weak spot damage boost. Play around with those two mods. It's a better preference there. For the boots, we are running the Secluded Strike. This is just a decent all-round mod. You could also run Covered Advance, which gives you a 20% damage increase for 30 seconds when out of combat for 4 seconds. This is the Battle Suffix mod, which is actually a new one I'm trying out, and this is actually one of the new mods they added in the August 15th patch. Battle Suffix mods are basically giga damage reduction substats or suffixes that you obtain from Nisa, which is the Sproutlet vendor, which is the PvP currency. You buy the boxes and you get these Battle Suffix mods, which are only for the top and shoes. These are fantastic for PvP and give a lot of damage reduction. As you can see, this is 3 status damage reduction suffixes on one mod. This mod alone is giving me almost 20% status damage reduction, which is pretty cracked. This is also for the top. I just have a weak spot increase here. That is for the PvE side of things. But for PvP, I've been trying out Resist Advantage, which is a 10% damage reduction stack up to 5 times when out of combat. So you get a 50% damage reduction when you enter combat for the first time, which is pretty strong, especially in a 1v1 or when you're just entering PvP. So this is a very good mod to have in PvP now, especially since you can get the battle suffixes on it. I don't have great rolls for this one. This is the best I've got from Nisa, so I just have 2 weapon damage reduction ones here. Ultimately, the best battle suffixes for your top and shoes would be trying to get the weapon damage reduction, because Bingo does the most damage. You don't really need status damage like I have on my boots, because Jaws doesn't do much damage. It's that stagger that makes the Jaws so good, but we can't remove the stagger. There's no thing in the game that allows us to get rid of that. The weapon damage reduction gives a lot of benefits against other Bingo players, of course. As for the pants, we're running Unstoppable Precision. Pretty self-explanatory. It is extra weak spot damage the further away you are from the enemy. Again, you're looking out for those weak spot and weapon damage reduction and weapon damage suffixes. This is an okay roll, actually. I did get status damage reduction. Preferably would have wanted to get a gold weak spot, but this was the best mod I have for my pants. So that covers all of the mods and the blueprints and weapons we're using for the glass cannon setup. As you can see, my HP is low. This is because all of my armor is currently uncalibrated on hard mode. I haven't got all my resources up for that yet. I just want to mention that here, that again, I just hit hard mode phase 2 like 3 days ago. So, you know, there's still a fair bit of grinding for me to get back to where I was in my novice season. The next most important thing I guess you could jump onto is probably the Cradle. The Cradle is different on the hard mode service, but it's not too different. But there are some noticeable differences, and I'm going to mention both the novice Cradle and the hard mode Cradle in this video. For the hard mode Cradle, we're using long range enhancements, Sky Operation, which is a new one that just gives us damage reduction when jumping. So there's going to be a lot of bee hopping and bunny hopping in this game. I don't know if that's how the devs want it to be, but yeah, I think it's kind of silly. I think it should be maybe a damage reduction when rolling, but hey, it's what the devs want to do. Handgun enhancement, obviously self-explanatory. Tactical combo, also self-explanatory. Sprints, just more movement speed. Steady hand, 20% extra weak spot damage to a bullseye target, that last part there. Bounty Hunter, this is a massive damage increase as one of the best perks for our build, especially for 1vxing with the Wildfire or Bingo, is going to be very beneficial for you. The last one here is Side by Sight. This is a new one, also exclusive to hard mode, which gives us durability loss speed minus 25%. So this is really good, so you don't have to repair your gear as much when you're playing in a team. So obviously you can imagine this being very strong in PvP. If you want the PvE setup, jump to that timestamp in the timeline and you will see the PvE Cradle and the PvP changes between builds. Now we're going to be jumping into the PvE setup. There's really only a few small changes for the PvE setup, and that is the 3-piece Renegade with a 2-piece Bastille instead of the 3-piece Bastille that we use for the glass cannon PvP setup. We're swapping it around. Now, the reason for this is you're not really going to be using the Bastille state too much in PvE because it is, again, very annoying to proc when you're not sniping, and in PvE you're generally not sniping. You're playing very aggressive and rolling around, and that is why the 3-piece Renegade set bonus is very strong. It basically gives us a stackable weak spot damage increase up to 10 times, and it will halve when you switch to a new target. So this set is amazing for clearing elites and super anomalies, and of course your monolith bosses and bosses in silos as well. So again, very good for PvE. Highly recommend this set. Gives you a massive damage increase. The mods are the same as the glass cannon setup. Precise strike on the hood, most wanted on the mask, damage boost on the gloves. You could try the gold munitions amplifier and see what you get better damage on. On the boots, covered advance. Also, the one mod that has changed is the top mod. This is getting rid of the damage reduction battle suffix mod, which isn't really necessary for PvE, and we're putting on that blue munitions amplifier to give us the most damage increase for, again, PvE. Jumping to our pants, of course, we're also running Unstoppable. The weapon accessories, I'm going to quickly brief over them again, but I highly recommend, of course, watching through the whole video. Sometimes I might speak a little fast, but again, camouflage suppressor, compact reflex, small infrared, and extended pistol mag. The mod is the vulnerability amplifier on the deagle, which gives us a rend-like ability, which gives us increased damage to the player that has that debuff, which we apply to them. Bingo, on the other hand, we're also running the large integrated suppressor, precision optic, and tactical SR. Also running vulnerability amplifier, looking out for those weak spot weapon damage substats, and again, preferably you actually want damage against great ones as your third substat, especially for PvE. You could also go for damage against normal enemies if you just like clearing trash mobs fast. Damage against elite enemies is actually also very good because I believe that also includes super anomalies if you're on a hard server. Jumping over to the Cradle, it is a little bit different on PvE. We're kind of dropping a couple of the more PvP-esque perks here. Side by side is obviously going to be swapped out for Deviation Master, and you can also probably swap out Sky Operation for Master Tactician. So again, we're running the long range enhancement Master Tactician over the side by side and the Sky Operation for the Deviation Master there. So that'll give us a decent amount of extra damage against great ones. If you're playing great ones, especially pro mode on a hard mode server, you're going to want the most damage increase you can get, because bosses are very, very tanky, especially with super anomaly adds. I highly recommend that you use these. Master Tactician is also very easy to proc. Simply bring some green grenades or green molotovs and you'll get a nice little 25% damage bonus against the bosses. For the other mods, of course, we're running handgun enhancement, tactical combos, sprint, and steady hand, with Bounty Hunter being a seasonal exclusive. I'm quickly going to chuck up a image here of what I'm running on the Novice season, because of these two cradles that I've showed from the glass cannon portion of the video and the Renegade PvE part of the video are both exclusive to hard mode, and there is some changes such as this cradle over right here. So I highly recommend, just if you're on a Novice server, looking at this portion of the video for the Novice cradle. Now we're going to be jumping into the PvP Savior run and gun Wildfire setup. This is if you like playing aggressive and you want the most damage resistance while also still keeping some of your damage. The sacrifice to this build though is your bingo is not going to be near as strong. You're going to be sacrificing a lot of your weak spot DPS. So again, jumping into it on this Google spreadsheet here, and this has all of my builds here. If you quickly want to reference something instead of jumping to a timestamp in my video in the future, I'm going to have this document here for you guys to quickly see or needed to remember. That will be in the description and pinned in the comments, so you can quickly check this out for things that you might have forgotten or need to reference. That said, I am actually working on a website. I did create a website for New World, and I'm going to do the same for Once Human, so stay tuned for this. It is not out yet. I hope to have the official website out for Once Human maybe in a week or two, but we'll see how everything goes. But for now, we're just going to be using Google Spreadsheets, as it is the most efficient way to showcase all of the gear that that I use really quickly. So jumping to the PvP run and gun Wildfire, we're running the Shelterer and Savior setup. This is the max damage resistance. We're swapping out all of our Bastille and Renegade for the 4-piece Savior, 1-piece Shelterer. Obviously we're keeping the Huntsman boots. All the mods are the same: Precise Strike, Most Wanted, Resist Advantage, Unstoppable Precision, and Covered Advance. For the weapons, Vulnerability Amplifier and Weak Spot Damage Boost. Again, you could also play around with the Gold Munitions Amplifier or Munitions Boost. For the accessories, same as the Legendary Suppressor, Sight, Purple Infrared Laser, Extended Mag for the Sniper, also Legendary Suppressor, 6x Legendary Scope. I've had the most success with. I think it has the most range increase as well, and as well the legendary extended mag. Just have some quick notes here about the suffixes you want to prioritize as well. As mentioned in both the glass cannon and PVE build setups, the suffixes to prioritize for battle are weapon damage reduction, because again, the most damage dealing build in the game is bingo itself, so you want to resist the most damage against other bingos. For the precision suffixes to prioritize, so that's the unstoppable, the most wanted, precise strike, and weak spot damage boost, you're looking out to prioritize your weak spot damage, and weapon damage reduction. You could also suffice with the status damage reduction. For the Cradle, it is pretty much the exact same as the glass cannon setup: long range enhancement, sky operation, handgun enhancement, tactical combo, sprint, bounty hunter, steady hand, and side by side, with our calibration blueprints being precision style double weak spot for the Wildfire and rapid style double weak spot for the bingo. There's a quick mention I'm going to give here for the Wildfire is you can, if you want to, run rapid style double weak spot. It is a preference thing, as I said before. I like precision style because it is a massive damage increase, but if you like the fire rate, especially for up close gameplay, I highly recommend the rapid style, as it may suit you more than the precision style does. This is sort of the main portion of the video. We've covered the 3 builds now. There are 2 more sections I do want to cover though, and then we'll jump into the index on how to get some things. The next section is the buffs. Buffs are very important for every build, and especially this build. So we're first going to cover all of the food and drink I use. For my glass cannon setup and for the Savior set, I would recommend the iced tea and Stardust Ratatouille. Now, both of these foods come from the memetics tree, so they are fairly easy to craft. You simply go and unlock dishes 3 here, and you will get the recipe automatically. For getting ingredients for these recipes, iced tea is very easy to make. It uses something called bell flour, which gives you a stronger iced tea, and ice you make at your fridge with purified water, and bell flour is the blue flour you find out in the open world. I highly recommend going to Greywater Camp. Around these sort of hilly bit, around the back side of it, there's a lot of bell flour plants, and it is very easy to gather them. So you simply make ice, you get purified water, you take your bell flour, and you go to your kitchen here, and you can make iced tea with the bell flour. Very easy to make, very strong, gives you that extra roll speed and movement speed after dodging. And again, on top of that, we're stacking it with the Stardust Ratatouille, which is overall another 20% character movement speed increase, and we can go very fast. In fact, for demonstration, I'm going to use these 2 consumables. So I'm going to eat the Stardust Ratatouille, I'm going to drink the iced tea, and whenever I roll, as we can see, we're already pretty fast, but now when I roll, we're even faster. We're almost 50% faster than not using these consumables at all. It is actually insane how fast you go and how fast you roll. On top of that though, we actually stack another food. This is the pan-fried fish. This I covered in my food buff stacking video, which was previous video that I made, and it gives you an increase to fire rate. So pan-fried fish here is also a free recipe you get by getting, I think, dishes 2. To make the pan-fried fish with fire rate, you need sea bass, which is down here. Now, sea bass, the best location is at the docks in Myers Market, these docks down here. So you grab your fishing rod and you get your bait. There is 2 bait I'm going to recommend that will give you the best chances so far I've found to catch sea bass. And that is the bait, just the normal green bait, and the dough fish bait. I don't recommend using mince bait. I've been pretty unlucky with that for some reason, but these 2 bait here I've had the best odds with. At those docks at Myers Market, there's also a fish vendor, and you can straight up buy all the bait you would ever need for straight up energy links. It's very cheap. You can buy like 200 bait for like 5,000 energy links, and you'll be fishing there for like 4 hours. But the next thing I'd highly recommend doing is setting up an aquarium, because you're probably wondering why I have so many fish tanks. It's the simple reason of storing all of my sea bass. I have a sea bass farm for whenever I need it, so they don't go out of date or expire. So yeah, that is what this is about. It's to store all my sea bass. So again, that gives me an increased fire rate, which gives me that reduction back from the precision style calibration. So as you can see, it's not exactly slow, but it's not exactly fast either. But we eat this, boom, that stacks with our food and drink that we drank previously, and now we're much faster. Much faster. You can see that buff if you press C and you go show buffs. These buffs, food buffs, last 40 minutes. They usually last 30 minutes, but this actually gives me another opportunity to mention something, is the kitchen buffs. These kitchen buffs are extremely strong. I highly recommend, if you've got a warband member that has these buffs, to place this kitchen set for you. Not only does it give you long-term shelf life, which doubles the duration before they expire, it also gives you a base effect plus 30% and a 50% duration increase. This means all of our buffs last 50% longer, 30% stronger, and crafting time minus 50% with double the shelf life. So you're almost getting a 100% increase in duration from both of them. And again, it's just a massive increase to overall stats here. This also can be stacked with another 2 foods, which are these steak combos. Now, I don't know where I put the steak combos. Here they are. These 2 steak combos are made using both rabbit meat and deer meat. They give me a 40% and a 25% stamina increase, and both of these stack. So boom, more stam. We eat this one, and we get another extra bit of stamina. So now we have 65% extra stamina, and we can get almost another 3 dodges in, which is really strong. You can also, when you get to in-game farming and you're taming animals, you get something called pristine meat when you slaughter them. Pristine meat can give us up to 100% increase in stamina. So we hit this one here, pristine rabbit meat, max stamina 100. This is the best food you want to use in in-game. This does require you to do farming and taming, which can be a little bit tedious, but when it comes to wars and conquest stronghold, this is basically a must. 100% extra stam is almost another 4 dodges on top of what you already have. So I highly recommend using that food when you get it. But for just general PvP and PvE, deer meat and rabbit meat is very easy to craft, so I would highly recommend holding on to those 2 at all times. Especially if you have your lethal rabbits doing the work, you don't really ever have to worry about going out and gathering meat by yourself. So as you can see, I just got a bunch of deer and rabbit meats, which is really nice. The next thing I want to mention, now that we've mentioned all of our buffs, is the whims I use. So for PvP, I use living armor, which is this one here. This gives us 100% HP regen and a shield when we drop below 20% HP. This is very comparable to like Death Defy if you're from New Worlds. Basically, it's a second chance in PvP, which is very strong. And we also use Parapsychology as the second whim here. This is effectively like High Alert in Call of Duty. It will alert us if an enemy is looking at us outside of our vision, which with this game's audio is very strong. This is made from the Masonic pyramid deviation. Again, go to the end of the video at the index, and you will be able to find out where all the deviations come from to make these whims. The next is Predator. This is a stealth whim. When we crouch for 3 seconds, we enter stealth, and our next one hit is 50% stronger in weak spot damage. This is again fantastic for the glass cannon bingo builds, and will give us another increase to our damage when we're sniping. The Weaver is actually a new one I've been testing out, and has actually been pretty useful. When we roll, we will be able to effectively soft CC and slow our enemy nearby. This is very comparable to like crippling powder burn in New Worlds, and it can actually chain to more enemies. So if we're nearby like 3 enemies, for instance in a cargo scramble, all of them will get that slow effect when we dodge, which is pretty strong. On top of that, I usually use Featherweight. This just increases our inventory space. I basically always have these active as a really strong deviation consumable, which comes from the Pup Buddy. And another honorable mention is the Transformation Cookie, which is quite funny, but it's also very good for being stealthy, and you know, this is very strong to use at Echo Stones or Chaos Cortexes. It's kind of cheesy, it's kind of ratty, but that is how the game currently works with Echo Stones. So if you want to use this, and yeah, you can use this and absolutely grief people in Chaos Cortex if you want to. This is made from the Gingerbread houses. Again, refer to the index at the end of the video on how to get that consumable. Or deviation, sorry. I think we've almost covered everything here now, and we're just going to jump into the index on how to basically get everything in depth detail. Alright, if you're wondering where to get gear mods, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. So each monolith drops certain weapon mods. The Bullseye weapon mods, or the vulnerability amplifier mods, come from the Mirage monolith, which is the Spider Boss. Hard and Pro mode, scroll down here, Bullseye weapon mods. If you're wondering where to get armor mods, the silos all have a different armor drop. Silo Sigma, both hard and pro, drops our glove mods. Silo EX1, both hard and pro, drops our mask. Silo Alpha, hard and pro, drops our heads. Silo PSI drops our pants mods. And Silo Theta drops our chest mods, pro and hard mode. For weapon accessory locations, I'm going to mention the Once Human website here. So simply go to the link in the description for the map genie, and for instance, let's look for an accessory that we might want. So the camouflage suppressor, or let's go the extended pistol mag. So we type extended pistol mag into the search bar, and it should give us the location of it here. So right here in black hearts, we can see the location of the riddle for the extended pistol mag, and yeah, that's how we basically get our attachments. If there is no location for it, it comes from the Morphic vendor in camps. The Morphic vendor is the guy that takes the stellar currency, and that is what you'll buy the attachment with as well. Where to find the Pup Buddy is zombies that have balloons hanging. A location that I've had great success getting Pup Buddy deviants is the Coastside Plaza. This is, I believe, where the disco event is. But there's a lot of zombies wandering around here, or deviants, sorry, that will have a little balloon attached to them. This will give you a chance to get the Pup Buddy deviation. The way to farm Calibration Blueprints is RNG. Getting Calibration Blueprints is by doing max gain in silos and monoliths using your controllers. It is complete RNG. There's no specific way to farm, say, a sniper BP. The only real way to hunt down a BP is trading with other players for energy links at their vending machines. Getting the Dreamcatcher deviant, which drops the spider whim, comes from the Mirage monolith. Getting the Harveseed deviation, which gives us the living armor whim, comes from the Gaia Cliff monolith, which is the Harveseed deviation. Getting the Masonic pyramid is obtained by winning a Conquest Stronghold war. Getting the Gingerbread house deviation, which gives the transformation cookies, comes from any morphic crate on the map. There's a lot. Getting the Mini Wonder deviation, which I use for my Cradle, comes from crafting vortex grenades at your synthesis bench. It is a random RNG deviation that you will simply just obtain by basically crafting the vortex generator grenades. Getting the dog deviation, which I recommend for PvE, comes from the Monolith of Thirst, which is the Shadow Hound. Right, that is the entire video. I will see you guys in the next one.